Good morning, friends. Welcome to Morning Musings. Another day, another podcast, as they like to say. Who they are, I don't know. But it's 7:30 on the dot on this Monday morning, brisk New York January morning where it's 29 degrees. I've already let the dogs out. So I am officially awake, drinking my Pete's coffee. And I know you all know I'm a Starbucks guy, but at home, I tend to brew Pete's. Random fact. One day we're going to ask you about that. What is like the most obscure thing about Jason's coffee habits? Pete's coffee at home. Hey, listen, yesterday we talked about not wearing a Giants hat on the last Sunday of the football season. And what I would tell you today is, as you're noticing, I'm wearing the Giants hat. I will never, ever miss an opportunity to celebrate a win over the Dallas Cowboys, whether it's week 18 and your team is one of the five worst teams in the NFL. It does not matter. A win over the Dallas Cowboys is a win over the Dallas Cowboys. And we'll get a little more into the Giants and the Jets in just a little bit. But it was a very active week 18 to close out the football regular season yesterday. And Seth and I were talking yesterday in the Sunday Beef premiere episode. I don't know where the season went. It's gone. The regular season's gone. It's over. It's like it started yesterday, and it's no more. For better or worse, depending on who your team is. So we had a heck of a finish last night to Week 18, and if you didn't see the Steelers-Ravens game, just watch the fourth quarter. It's probably all you really do need to watch. A battle of who made the least mistakes. And by who, I mean kickers to close out this game. But a couple of incredible plays. We saw Lamar Jackson pull a Houdini act, a couple of really impressive comeback touchdowns. But at the end of the day, it was the Pittsburgh Steelers. It was Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers defeating the Baltimore Ravens 26-24. And somewhere, Justin Tucker is laughing. Where that somewhere is, you can use your own imagination. But boy, oh boy, is Tyler Loop not going to be allowed back in Baltimore today. Or if they allow him back, he might be detained off of the charter flight because that's a game that Baltimore would always win on the trusty leg of Justin Tucker. But Tyler Loop missing a sure thing to close out the game and sending Pittsburgh into the playoffs against a very tough matchup of the Houston Texans. And I think the over-under that game is now 39.5 because I'm not sure anyone's going to score a touchdown, at least not on Pittsburgh, with the Texas having one of the top defenses along with Seattle in the NFL, which we discussed at length yesterday as well. But a really interesting end to the season yesterday. That game was pure entertainment. Again, seriously, if you didn't see the fourth quarter, or if you want to get the setup for it, watch the second half. If you're bored today, maybe wind that back and take a look at it. But another takeaway from last night is, as Giants fans, we were talking about, would you take Tomlin or Harbaugh should the loser get jettisoned? And I have concerns. I think Tomlin is staying in Pittsburgh, probably even if they lose next week to Houston. But I have concerns. Tomlin made multiple questionable play calls last night that should have cost his team the game. In fact, this game should have not come down to that field goal. Pittsburgh should have won by probably at least 3, if not a touchdown last night. So Tomlin did not bring it. Also, defensive schemes late in the game were terrible as well for Pittsburgh, allowing Lamar to get his final 2 touchdowns. But from Baltimore side, Harbaugh being the loser here, I think his seat is hot. There's apparently issues in the locker room. He is close, of course, with ownership. He's been there for almost 2 decades. yes, the Giants would be crazy not to consider him. Crazy not to consider him for a coaching gig, but not a sure thing in my book. Not a sure thing. Um, Ravens haven't been able to crush the threshold. This would have been a fantastic year to do so with Kansas City out of the picture. And they've regressed, right? They've regressed. So is it all on the coach? Of course not. Roster construction, injuries, like anything. Harbaugh's in my top three, I think. You have a tier now that consists of Mike McCarthy, Harbaugh. Seth brought up a great point of Stefanski. Um, you know, he's probably going to lose his job today on Black Friday, by the way. Happy Black Monday. I'm thinking shopping season. Happy Black Monday in the NFL. Atlanta has already fired their coach and the GM last night, and they couldn't even wait. They're like, we're not waiting for Black Monday. We're doing this tonight. These guys are gone. Let's see what shakes out today. I don't think Harbaugh is necessarily a Black Monday fire, unless they decide to rip the Band-Aid off today. A lot of NFL news is going to shake out today when it comes to coaching staffs. So it's going to be really interesting to see how it goes and what is out there for the Giants. But the Giants must consider only folks that have been head coaches in the NFL and not any first-time coaches anymore. So as we head into what looks like a fun playoff bracket here. So let's transition over. Let's look at your playoff options. And I'm trying to learn layouts here to see how this all looks. A little small. Let's maximize the window for you. Take a look at your playoff, your round one. Of course, you have Denver and Seattle with the buys. Amazing. If you told me before the season started that you'd have the Denver Broncos and Seattle Seahawks as your one seeds in both conferences, I probably would have said you're a little crazy. You might be a little crazy still, but a little crazy. We'll start off with the Rams, the LA Rams, Carolina Panthers. Carolina advancing. Heck of a surprising season out of Carolina here. Did just eke by, though, to make the playoffs. Do like LA here. Even as a 5 seed, LA is a top tier football team in this league. I like to see the Rams advance here. San Francisco and Philly. Listen, Philly didn't even try to become the 2 seed yesterday, resting their entire starting roster pretty much. Don't like that. Bad mojo when that happens. They've had a questionable up and down season. Their offense has not looked good this year. Saquon's not had a good season. The Niners disappointing this week. I do think they'll prevail in Philly. The problem is it's in Philly. So Philly at home, better than Philly on the road. I am picking the Niners here in this matchup. I would pick Philly anyway. Like, what do you think this is? I know it's morning and maybe I have delirium thoughts sometimes at 7:30 in the morning, but I'm not picking Philly. It's just not happening, folks. And I'm not sorry about it. Green Bay and, LaFleur's seat is going to get hot now. It's going to get hot. If they are a one and done here, he'll come back next season. But warm it up a little bit. The Bears are gonna win this game. You know what? The Bears are gonna win this game handily over a preseason favorite in the NFL, Green Bay. Now, if you would have told me before the season started, Green Bay would have the number 1 seed in this conference, probably would have said, you're not so crazy, right? But they don't. They're the 7th seed, and the Bears have had a tremendous season. And Caleb Williams is going to slice and dice the Green Bay Packers. We move off to the AFC, and without Kansas City in the picture, this you would think is prime time for the Buffalo Bills, and without the Ravens in the picture, and we're going to have a changing of the guard here in this conference, but it's not going to be the Buffalo Bills. It's not going to be the Buffalo Bills, and I really think it could be the Houston Texans. Houston's defense, along like we said with Seattle's, is top tier elite, They're going to win next week. And that Houston-Denver matchup is going to be cinema in round 2. Buffalo will beat Jacksonville, but it's not going to be easy. It's absolutely not going to be easy. We're finally seeing Trevor Lawrence with a supporting cast and really good coaching. And listen, this goes back to like how fast you could turn a team around the NFL. Look at these teams. Look at these teams that are doing well. Chicago, right coaching decision, right? Jacksonville, finally, the right coaching decision. We're about to talk about New England with making, getting Mayo out in a one and done, bringing in Vrabel. Look how that team turned around. Giants fans, we have hope. We have hope. Buffalo wins over Jacksonville in a tight one. One-score game goes down to the final drive. One-score game goes down to the final drive. And then the Chargers and the Patriots. Now, Patriots, your biggest criticism, soft schedule. Soft schedule, inexperience. Chargers coming in at 7 seed. Really good quarterback. Strong football team led by another. It's a great coaching matchup here, too. Great coaching matchup. Okay. Harbaugh, Vrabel in New England. Week 1 playoffs. Might be a case of home field for New England. Don't let the 7-2 seed confuse you here. It's going to be another close game. I think it's going to be the Chargers. It's a gut thing. I don't know enough about either team. Not going to pretend to know about either team. I don't hate New England. I never hated New England. Giants own New England. I don't hate New England. Chargers over the Patriots in round 1 of the NFL playoffs. I'm going to make an early Super Bowl prediction for you. I think this is tough. In the NFC, I keep saying the Niners are going to do it this year. The path is going to be too hard, though. They really set themselves up for a tough path. And I can't wait to see a Niners-Bears rematch from a couple weeks ago, because that's going to be electric in round 2. And ultimately, I think the winner of that makes it to the Super Bowl. And I think the Bears are going to do it. Bears come out of the NFC in what would be a shocker before the season. I know you see it's a 2 seed. You would think, oh, no, you're crazy. No, it's a shocker. It's a shocker. You didn't expect that. Bears. I'm going to go Bears, and I'm going with Denver. The battle of orange supremacy in the Super Bowl this year. And what a matchup that would be. Would that not be fun? A totally different matchup. Also, I'm having a hard time reconciling for the AFC, Denver and Houston. Okay, so that's going to be a round 2 matchup as well. I think you're going to get best matchups around 2. Denver, Houston is going to be just a knockout, drag them out, slugfest defensively. But give me the Chicago Bears, give me the Denver Broncos in the Super Bowl. Whatever happens, welcome to the NFL playoffs. Let's go local. Let's talk local. Let's talk a difference between the Giants and the Jets. Because you're going to say, hey, they're both 2 of the 5 worst teams in the NFL. They both have terrible coaching. And they're very alike. They're not alike at all. Okay. The Giants will get a chance to hire a new coach. They've already made that clear. They won yesterday, and they won last week, and they won yesterday 34-17. And they played hard from start to finish. Jackson Dart looked tremendous. Their running game was great. And let me tell you, the Giants' running game this year has been great. Okay, and I think the Scatabo Tracy backfield next year is going to be something to watch out for, because Tyrone Tracy is very, very good. And he had over 100 yards yesterday, first Giants running back to do that in quite some time. Very excited to see that backfield next year. 34-17 win over Dallas. Very proud. I will celebrate it. Like I told you, I wear the hat today. I would raise the flag, do all the things that you can do to celebrate a Giants win in Week 18 of what was a very, very difficult season. They showed up, and I cannot stand the folks out there that are curmudgeon about this, that are mad that they dropped to the 5th pick because they won a football game. Okay, listen. You want to sit out here and criticize what the Raiders have done the last 2 weeks and then get mad when the Giants win football games? In this economy? I mean, that just, listen, if they had lost and gotten the first pick, because the Raiders beat Kansas City, great, wonderful, happy to see it. They win, they have the 5th pick, happy to see it. You can't sit here and be angry the Giants won a football game, especially against the Dallas Cowboys, and your future showed up, played their asses off yesterday, and played well, and said all the right things after the game, right? All the right things. Even Abdul Carter, who had a very tumultuous start to the season, and we didn't even realize because Brian Daboll let him do whatever the hell he wanted to do. Go sleep in our meeting. Don't even show up for the meeting. Do whatever you want, Abdul Carter. Just don't take Lawrence Taylor's number, but do anything else you want. And be a terrible teammate as a rookie. And we won't hold you accountable. We come to find out all those things were happening after Daboll was fired. Probably the best reason why Daboll got fired at the end of the day. Finally holding the man accountable. He's turning over a leaf. That's amazing what that does, right? So if Kafka did one thing right, took care of that situation. And if you had a moment to go back and see the things that Carter said after the game, I am over the disappointment for Carter. I think we will start fresh next year, and we'll start fresh for the Giants defense next year for sure with a competent coordinator. Okay, because the pieces are there. The pieces are there for the Giants defense to be very, very good pass rushing defense. With that said, hopefully, as we get to the draft order here in a little bit, we'll talk about what their needs are. Well, there's a lot of needs, but maybe the preferential needs. The Jets, you should be ashamed of yourselves. The New York Jets, you should be ashamed of yourselves. You did it again. You didn't show up, and you lost 35-8 to the Buffalo Bills. It was disgusting. It was gutless. And how Woody Johnson could wake up today and sit there and say, Aaron Glenn is the guy that's going to lead us the next to a turnaround, and I'm going to bring him back, and he's the right guy. You got to be crazy. What glimmer of hope? What can you hang on to? What pieces? Because a lot of times there's pieces you can say, hey, I think he's going to put it all together. I like this. I like that. They just didn't have a roster. They don't have anything. Right? Not understood. Quarterback situation is what it is. But this guy is lost. And his football team didn't even show up the last few weeks. And there's nothing there. And he doesn't even acknowledge it. So he keeps talking about how he has the answers. I don't know. Answers to what? Like dinner? I don't know what answers he has, but it ain't the answers to what the Jets need in the football field. That's for sure. Yesterday, Seth and I on the Sunday Beef, said maybe he gets a second year. And I was talking to Seth last night, and we came to a consensus that Aaron Glenn should not be getting a second year. And one and done, and very much the case that Gerard Mayo's one and done would be the right move here, especially if like Harbaugh is available, right? And the Jets can get an experienced coach or Stefanski, and they can convince one of those guys to coach for that organization. The other problem is Giants and Jets organizations are entirely different when it comes to enticing places to coach. Giants are and always will be a very, 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 very attractive place for coaches to go. They have a history. There's some organization competency there, even though we want to say what it is been over the last years. The Jets have nothing, and they have nothing to sell anybody. They have no past success. They have nothing to sell a coach, an established coach. But if they can convince one of those guys, or one of those guys will show interest, you got to show Aaron Glenn the door. You got to roll up the Uber to the front door, and you got to shove him in it and send him on his way. Okay, got to take care of the problem, and he's a large part of the problem. We go into the draft order. The Raiders, even with winning yesterday against the hapless Kansas City Chiefs, they will get the first pick of this year's draft. They will get Mendoza, and they will have a quarterback. What they will also need to do is get a coach, because Pete Carroll, the game has passed him by, folks. Pete Carroll is not going to be the Raiders coach next year. The Jets will pick second. So 4 teams finished at 3 and 14. The Cardinals and the Titans, third and fourth. This draft class is not quarterback strong for sure after Mendoza drops off tremendously. So we'll see what the Jets, Cardinals, and Titans do. For the Giants' sake, is that I would love to see, depending on what's out there, I really, really, really want to see the Giants pick up another wide receiver. Neighbors, if you have a Neighbors, a really good option with Neighbors, and you move like Wan'Dale Robinson to the slot, you're on with something, right? You're cooking with something. So Carnell Tate for the Giants, wide receiver, if he would be available, would be great. That's where I'd be looking first for the Giants. Offense tools, more tools for Dart, for dynamic offense. They're not that far away from having one of those, right? Play calling will need a coach and coordinator. But you can see this team's capable of interesting plays. I mean, Kafka's is mind-numbing to me, because some of the Giants looked fun yesterday. They have a couple games every so often where you're like, where has these plays calls been all year? Because they're executing them, right? And then they'll go 3 or 4 games and give you the most boring offensive schemes you'll ever see. So, no, obviously moving on from Kafka, he'll go be an OC in like Kansas City or something next year, because that you'll see a change there. So that's all for the National Football League that I have for you today. And there's a lot. That was a lot from the National Football League. But we have some Yankees news, and we talked yesterday how the offseason has been just dullard across the board, but super dullard if you're a Yankee fan. And we had some news break. There's been some news break over the evening and yesterday afternoon that the Yankees here are looking for an Edward Cabrera trade with the Marlins to starting pitching. So Edward Cabrera, a young electric arm, like very, very, very electric stuff for Edward Cabrera. The issue, of course, with these guys is that he's never healthy. Last year was the first year that this man pitched 100 innings, right? In his 4 full quote unquote seasons in the league. 100. I know we're never going to see a 200 inning guy anymore in this league, but I did not get over 100 innings. It's crazy. However, listen, the Yankees need starting pitching, and they're looking at sending prospects to the Marlins. And I'm just not of the ilk of prospect hugging, especially anymore under Brian Cashman's regime. So if you want to bring in a starting pitcher that can address the issue, especially early in the year, with not starting the season with Rodon and Cole, I'm all for it. So this would give you established, and this give you a good start to the year, and a very deep rotation once you hit midsummer for the Yankees. So you'd start with Fried, Schlittler, Cabrera in this case, Heel, and Warren to start the year. Cabrera, Heel, very similar with electric arms and injuries. I like Heel more than most people. Warren really picked it up last year. And then you get into a situation by like, June, you have Cole and Rodon back, right? So by June, you have a rotation of Freed, Rodon, Schnittler, Cole, and Cabrera, right? That is what you're hoping for before the next batch of injuries come, which are inevitable. But we'll monitor this one through the day. Looked like it was picking up steam yesterday for the Yankees, and it's time to do something. The other news that broke late for the Yankees was they apparently offered a counter offer to Bellinger, added a year on to the offer. I believe we're at 5 years now for Bellinger. I don't care what the years are. I don't care what the years are. Um, and I the the other thing is I'm going to say I want Bellinger back. I want Cody Bellinger back. Uh, I want more, and I know it's not going to happen. I know if Bellinger comes back, it's going to be it for the offense, right? I know it. I just deep in my heart hopeful that you'd also get Bichette or Tucker. Tucker's not coming. Bichette, right, to play second and then we do something with Jazz, like we talked about yesterday. Because I think teams would be interested. Last year, the contract for Jazz, I don't think the Yankees are long term interested. So let's do something with that. All right, so we'll see if we have more Yankee news later in the day, and also NFL Black Monday news. More to come. It's going to be a very active sports news day. Okay, between definitely NFL heavy. So get ready, buckle in, have your coffee, get settled for a strong sports day, and enjoy it. Because Mondays are tough, especially the Monday after New Year's. Everyone's got to go back to work. I got to go back to work. So focus as best you can. All right, do the best you can. All right, I don't know how often I'm going to do morning musings. It's a great way to start the day. It's fun, depending on what there is out there. See what we have for you this week. Just to close out here, to give you an idea of what's coming besides Black Monday today. The Knicks are in action, trying to get off their 2-game skid against the Pistons, a very good Pistons team. 7:00 on the Peacock. And the Rangers host the Utah Mammoth. 7:00 on MSG, and I don't know what to say about that. All right, folks. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you soon on Morning Musings.